Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm joined today by Tomlinson, who is the founder and CEO of Alium Works. Anne will be discussing how Alium Works provides professionals with support, connections, and has created an award-winning programme to build capacity within the rail and construction industry. Anne, thanks for joining us today. Please tell us about yourself and about the work that you do and your vision for Alium Works.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks for having me, first of all. So as Karen said, I am the founder and director of Alium Works, and I started Alium Works in 2018 after reflecting on my own career of spanning over 18 years in rail and construction, both in Australia and internationally. So what I found when I started in my rail career when I was, I think, 23 years old, there wasn't really a foundation to help newcomers to the industry, to help them set up for success. So that included school leavers, people that just graduated from university, or even career changes. So when I was in a position to sort of change the industry, I made a decision that that was what Alium Works was going to stand for. Not only were we going to create training programs that was going to set people up for success, but what we wanted to do was create a level playing field for job seekers across Australia as well, because there's just all this unconscious bias that's happening that we want school leavers, we want new people to come into our industry, but we expect them to have 10 years of experience, So how do we bridge that gap? And that's what Alium Works is all about, is creating that level playing field for all people and who wants to start a career in rail and construction.
Excellent. And that's really important, because in your career, you've probably seen some incredible changes. And what of those changes, what would you say the key changes are that you've seen regarding career opportunities in your time you've been in the industry?
So I think first up, we need to talk about the infrastructure spend that the government has pledged, especially in Australia. So when I first came over to Australia from the UK in 2011, I think the biggest project value then was $650,000. That is now a drop in the ocean compared to some of the infrastructure spend that's happening. So I know the government has just pledged to spend over $53 billion just in rail and infrastructure alone. So you can see that the projects are getting bigger, the value is getting bigger, and if the project value is increasing, it increases the job opportunities as well. So we have seen more companies invest in traineeships and cadetships and creating pathways for newcomers to the industry, because Australia is busy going through the biggest skill crisis in Australian history. So for the next 5 years, we've forecasted a skill shortage of over 500,000 people. So that means that employers and the industry have had to change the way they behave and the way they think about, who is an ideal employer. So this is the reason why they started investing in more traineeship, more cadetships. So it creates that pathway, especially for school leavers, because not everybody wants to go to university, but it creates that pathway for people after year 12, that there's an opportunity for them to join one of Australia's fastest growing industries.
And you mentioned before about this massive skills shortage. So what skills and abilities do those working in rail and construction actually need to enter and also to progress?
So there's a couple of foundational training courses that everybody will have to go through, whether you start as a receptionist or whether you're a civil engineer or anything in between. So generally speaking, everybody that works in rail and both construction as well will need a construction white card. That's a one-day course, and the fee is really nominal, and you can do that online or through an RTO. And also, if you're going to be accessing the rail corridor, there's additional training requirements that you'll need. So we call it accessing the rail corridor. Now, each territory has their own course code for that and course name for that. But generally speaking, if you do a Google search into the rail corridor, so they'll have to do that, and then they'll have to go through medicals as well. Now, the reason we do medicals is because we are governed under the Rail Safety Act. So The medicals are there to do a fitness for work test to make sure that you will be able to look after yourself and those people around you, but also to test for drug and alcohol. So we've got a zero tolerance for drug and alcohol while you at work or while you're preparing to go to work.
Excellent. And just out of interest, what is the rail corridor? What does that mean?
So if you generally see a train going, the train is obviously on tracks, and either side of the track there will be a fence or a boundary line that is considered the rail corridor.
So anywhere.
Yeah, if you're standing outside of that fence, that will be in proximity of the rail corridor, but you're not in the rail corridor. So as soon as you step in that rail corridor, you'll need additional training.
Right, excellent. And in terms of, building those skills, obviously, like you say, that you need your white card, which is quite easy, and you need all the additional training to be in the rail corridor as well. What would you say are the potential barriers to learning and gaining employment in the industry? So there is this huge skills shortage, but are there any barriers to entering the industry and learning and progressing?
I think the only barrier at the moment, what we see in the industry, is that people don't know where to start. They don't know which training courses to sort of undertake. And this is what we do here at Alium Works. We create that pathway and basically have a hand-over-hand approach where we sit people down and have a look at what sort of pathway to be through, and then we'll tell them what sort of training courses they need to be going through as well. So I think that's probably the biggest barrier. So if you asked me this question 10 years ago, I would have said, oh, the industry is a male-dominated industry, but that's not the case anymore. Yes, we have a higher percentage of males in the industry, but we've got some strong female leadership coming through now. So for any females that's considering a career in rail, the opportunities are endless.
Excellent. So it's really quite an attractive industry for young people because of the opportunities, the skill shortages, the chances to progress. Is quite a attractive industry to go to.
Oh, absolutely. And it's also one of the highest paying industries in Australia, if not the world, you know. So if you think about a general, if we just talk about labouring, where your starting salary could be anything between 18 from minimum wage, $18 to $25 an hour, you could be starting around $35 an hour. So you can see there's already a massive gap. And that is just for entry level positions. We're not even talking about more experience and senior levels.
Excellent. And in terms of your clients, who would you say, I guess you have your individuals, but do you have other clients like corporates or groups that you work with as well as your individuals?
Yeah, so look, quite rightly as you said, Karen, so we work with both job seekers and employers. So we generally work with all the tier ones. So if you don't know, familiar with the term tier one, this is generally your big four construction companies. So we're talking about the John Hollands, the CPBs, and then we go into the tier twos and tier threes and tier fours. So originally our target market was really just tier ones, but we do see a lot of intake from the tier threes and tier fours because ultimately it doesn't matter which client we deal with, they all support each other because they're so integrated, especially on the government funded major projects. So they have to support each other to be able to deliver that project. So it doesn't really matter which tier you're working for anymore. They all do well, and there's so many job opportunities in all of those tiers.
Excellent. And how do you support your clients? How do you work with them?
So it depends on the client needs. So we can do cadetships or traineeships, and there's a difference between the two. Or sometimes they have existing team members in their team that just needs a little bit of extra support. This is where we deploy services through our pathway program. And then some of our clients just need some of their staff to be upskilled and have accredited training. And this is what we offer through our RTO now.
Excellent. And do you offer an introduction service, or do you have that facility as well?
Yes, so we, through our pathway program as well, so we do introduce job seekers to employers as well. And this is generally people who's part of our pathway program, because sometimes we don't have the skill set internally, but we will connect them with external sources as well.
Excellent. And from the Pathways program and the services that you provide, what outcomes would you say that your clients that you support and you engage with and you develop, what outcomes do they generally achieve?
So generally, when our clients work with us, prior to coming to us, they have a very high attrition rate, which means they're just turning over people. Like one of the clients that we worked with last year had an attrition rate of 48%. So that's half of their workforce that gets changed out every year. But by working with us, we spend a lot of time and emphasis on the attraction piece. So matching the right type of person to the right role. So that suitability and a love for that job more than just a bum on a seat. So when we work with our clients, they tend to have a higher retention rate and a high quality caliber of people, and obviously high quality education programs as well.
Excellent. And that's so important for job satisfaction, isn't it? Because people are at work all day, and they can't just be there to do a task and then leave. They do have to get something out of it.
No, absolutely. And this is what we've seen is like by changing, just making a couple of tweaks to our recruitment processes and by factoring in that enjoyment factor, we're seeing such a high success rate because people are now staying because they actually enjoy being at work, as opposed to, just being there to be able to pay bills, because there's a massive difference between a job and a career.
Yeah, 100%. And with regards to your network, so obviously you've got a range of clients and the trainees that you work with. And in terms of your network, can you tell us a little bit about your network and how important this is to have to provide the service you deliver?
Yeah, sure. So look, I want to start with a bit of a cliche. Your network is your net worth, so without that network, you're going to struggle very hard to get anywhere. So the people I have in my network is a very vast range of people. So they start with obviously from the job seekers right through the decision makers and across the globe as well. So we don't have a very specific niche because we do help people. Well, we help people around construction, but across the world. But because we have such a strong network, it actually enables us to connect more people, and especially job seekers who's really struggling to get a foot in the door, because sometimes, as you know, Karen, it just takes a phone call and to say, hey, Karen, I've got this great person. Would you be interested? And it starts off this whole different conversation and this whole different level of engagement. So for anybody that hasn't had the opportunity to build a network yet, I would suggest that you start doing that now. And I think it's important that we talk about the different platforms and different networking, because LinkedIn is the preferred platform for networking, professional networking, and it does have a different rules of engagement, if you want to call it that, to TikTok and Facebook and other social media platforms. So it's very important to understand the difference between the different platforms and how to leverage your network from each of those platforms.
Yeah, definitely. And if you haven't got that understanding, then seek help to get that understanding.
Yeah, and especially if let's just say if anybody just started out their LinkedIn profile right now, connect with your peers, or connect with your parents, maybe connect with me, and just watch and learn from the sideline. The expectation is that they don't start engaging straight away, but just understand how the platform works and start building up a portfolio. Because let's just, as an example, if students are in year 10 right now, they're only going to be going into the workforce in the next 2 years, for example. If they started a LinkedIn profile now, they've got 2 years worth of engagement on that platform before an employer is even going to even look at their LinkedIn profile. So this is where you can do the foundational work.
Yeah, definitely. And it's all about building trust, isn't it? You want people to know you, you want people to like you, but you also want people to trust you, because I would imagine you could pick the phone up, but if that person doesn't value, respect, or trust what you say, it's probably not going to have the same effect as the relationship you've built.
Oh, absolutely. And it's about authenticity as well. It's about being yourself, but also being respectful on those platforms as well, because that platform will represent you and your brand. And once that brand is tarnished, it's very, very hard to come back from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of your development, congratulations, because obviously Alium Works has achieved RTO status now. What does that actually mean for you?
Well, it means that we can now deliver both accredited training and non-accredited training. So our pathway program was non-accredited, was more to do with personal and professional development. But now we deliver certificate for work health and safety and diploma courses as well. And we'll soon be adding additional courses specific to the rail industry. But it has opened a lot of doors for us as a company, but it now just allows us to reach more people in Australia and to help them get a formal qualification while still doing their professional development as well.
Excellent. And sometimes that accreditation is needed, isn't it? Because everybody understands the value and the quality of that accreditation, so it speaks for itself on a resume.
Accreditation is validation. It's amazing how many doors it would open. And we actually did a case study recently. So if you take two applicants, similar demographics, similar backgrounds, very similar individuals, and one person has accredited training and one person doesn't, the person with the accredited training is most likely to be favored above the person that doesn't have it. So it is sometimes accredited training is overlooked, but like I said, it is validation.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of anyone working in the industry and thriving and surviving, what would you say are the top 3 skills, especially with the work that you do, particularly in terms of your connections and building and developing? What 3 skills do you look for when you're building your team?
Look, when I build my team, or whether it's here internally or even when I've built teams and major projects externally, the communication, and it sounds like a bit of a cliche, but everything that we do in the industry is based on teamwork. And if you don't have the ability to influence people, you're going to be stuck on the outside. So that communication skill, and we're not talking about being able to write essays or books or anything like that. It's just about being a decent human being and communicating and conversing what it is that you need and what it is that you expect, you know. And from that, obviously, that influencing piece comes in. But as I said, everything that we do is based on teamwork. So you're going to have to be a team player. There are very few roles in the industry that requires loners, basically. So everything is based on working in a team environment or leading a team. And then I would say, leadership as well. So we do tend to look at future leadership. We're not expecting school leavers to have that leadership qualities right now, but having the ability to develop that in conjunction with them.
Yeah, and almost that potential. You can see the potential that they will be able to learn and be open and develop those skills. Yeah,
and that really comes from initiative. I know you said 3, but initiative is the big one as well. So along with being a team player, so team leaders wants to see that people will make decisions and they will go beyond the call of duty as well. Even if you don't know, sometimes you can just make some suggestions, and sometimes those suggestions are so valid and it just saves so much time. So it's about showing that leadership skills, communication, and that initiative. If you have that, people are going to be fighting to have you on their team.
Excellent. That's really good advice. And on the note of young people entering the industry, you're building qualifications and packages for young people. Could you tell us a little bit about those opportunities that young people are going to have?
Yeah, so we are building school leaver packages at the moment, so specifically targeting year 10 to 12. So we've got different programs for that. So there's our traditional pathways program. Then we're looking at a certificate for and work health and safety, and we're also looking at a certificate or perhaps even a diploma and rail engineering qualifications as well. But like I said, it's specifically going to be aimed at that year 10 to 12. And that program is not just going to give them the accredited training, but it's going to give them the on-site experience as well, because there will be field days involved in that. And they're going to be able to touch and feel and see what the industry is really about, because they're going to be right there amongst the action.
Excellent. And with your network, you've got people all over the country that will provide them with that work experience. So it's not limited to a state, is it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the thing that that most employers don't know, so especially if you're going on a industry-funded project, they have KPIs, so key performance indicators. So which means they have to provide these opportunities for school leavers and apprenticeships and traineeships. So so a lot of companies are open to these field days. They're open to providing practical experience and internships as well. So if you've not given internships a thought yet, I suggest you start jumping on that bandwagon now, because a lot of companies are preparing for internships if they haven't already concluded their intakes for 2021.
Excellent. That's really good advice. And there's so many young people out there who, at this point, they have no idea what they want to do. And with an industry,
That's okay. I don't think they have to sort of know right now, but just go try stuff and get some experience under your belt. Even if you hate it, at least you can look back on it in five years and go, yeah, I did work in constructions. This is what I learned. Because when I first came to Australia, to put this in context, sorry, Karen, I interrupted you there. In context, I've always worked in rail and construction. So when one of the projects was coming to an end, I was waiting to go on to another project, and I had to do a stopgap and roads. And when they first told me that I had to go from rail to roads, I was really disappointed. But I tell you what, that 6 weeks, or that turned out to be 12 weeks in the end. That 12 weeks on road has just taught me so much, and it's transferable as well. So just keep that in the back of your mind, that everything that you learn is going to be transferable, and you can use it anywhere in your future career.
Excellent. And if they start with such a good program where they build these skills in preparation for the industry, like you say, if they find that it's not for them, they can transfer all of that to another career.
Yeah. Like, don't be so hard on yourself. You're not supposed to save the world when you're in year 12, you know. You're supposed to just engage and be active and be part of something. That's what you're supposed to be doing.
Brilliant. And on that note, thank you so much for all of your time today and sharing your insights. And if there are any teachers out there who are interested in finding out more about these Cert 3s and 4s, is it 3s and 4s or just the 4?
Certificate 4 and diploma.
And diploma. So if there's any teachers out there that have got some students that they think would absolutely love this, how can they reach out to you?
Oh, look, we are on basically every platform that you can think of. LinkedIn is a really good platform to get hold of me, or you can reach us here in the office at contact@aliumworks.com.au. But also social media, if you want to connect with me directly on LinkedIn as well. It's Dan Tomlinson. You can't miss me. You'll see. And also, we're also on Facebook. We have a Facebook group, the Alium Works community. It is a closed group, but answer a couple of questions and we'll accept you.
Excellent. That's really good advice, and thank you for that. It's a great opportunity, and it'll be really exciting to see, you know, the industry grow with, you know, the next generation coming through, and other school sort of career changes as well.
Yeah, no, it is a very exciting time to be working in rail, or to be considering a change to go into rail, because the opportunities are just endless.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Karen.